So good evening, and hello to everyone who is watching us from remote. Leading European telco. Tim showed our strategy to you. Bruno, leading European telco. What does that mean in essence? In essence, some people argue it has to do with number of customers, number of countries, revenue market share. I've also heard CapEx leadership, as if spending is a virtue. No, this is not what we are believing. We believe it is about category leadership. And the category for us is undisputed technology leadership, creating the best customer experience, turning us into the #1 choice for our customers. And indeed, technology leadership is also the basis for the production model Bruno and I are going to describe. Because we are the first operator to move to a truly pan-European, all-IP, integrated production model. And that is actually the first part, the first bucket of the strategy Tim presented. Now, a superior production model for us, it's not a purpose in itself because we love technology. I mean, we do. But the purpose why we are doing that is threefold. One, because it delivers a better customer experience, and I will come to that. Two, and Thomas had shown that, it creates a very competitive cost base. And three, it really makes us fast and agile. Now, when we talk about a superior production model, it consists of three components. Component #1 is the PSTN migration, the all-IP transformation, which we started to rigorously execute since January 2012. Now, of course, that has an agility and cost effect, but the main thing is really the plug-and-play customer experience. For example, in Macedonia, which was the first country which went all IP in 2013, customers, for example, single-voice customers, can just go to their smartphone, to their pad, click, click, and get a broadband internet access immediately. Immediately, click, click, you order it, you have it, because the network is pre-configured. So therefore, the PSTN migration removes usage hurdles for the customers to use our products. The next element is what we call the pan-European network. As you know today, all countries have different type of networks, historically grown. We are actually in the process to create a truly pan-European network with an integrated production. And the main benefit of that is as follows. Today, very often, it takes 1 to 2 years to introduce a new product or service in every single country. With that, it takes a few weeks across the entire footprint. The third component is the integrated network strategy. That is the continuation of the LTE, then LTE Advanced, at some point in time 5G rollout, vectoring, further rollout of fiber to the home, to create the best connectivity for our customers. In Germany anyhow, and the new thing is now also that we decided to do an integrated network strategy in the rest of the European footprint as well. And on top of that, we are digitalizing the customer-facing processes, meaning enhancing the online share of service bill and sales and creating a seamless experience across all channels. So that's, so to say, the customer interface to that production model. Thomas mentioned it. Bruno, OPEX savings in steady state amount to round about 1.2 billion euro in steady state. So that is the production model, and we will now deep dive into the different schemes. First of all, IP transformation. We mentioned that several times and also did webinars around it, so therefore, pretty quickly. In our today's world, the spaghetti world, which we can see on the left-hand side, we have different platforms for every different service: mobile, fixed telephony, internet, TV, carrier business. And second, the intelligence for steering the network and bringing in new services is distributed over 10,000 distribution points across entire Europe. And these are complex because they have vendor-specific hardware-software combinations. So therefore, it takes long to do something new. In the new era, we have the same platform for all types of services. That's the basis for executing fixed mobile convergence quickly. Lasagne. We have virtualized the intelligence for steering the network into the cloud. It's quick, the infrastructure cloud. And we have separated the business support system for the processes from the operating system. And by the way, that infrastructure is access agnostic. It works with all access technologies, which we are having here below. So, as you know, this is not PowerPoint. We are actually very proud that after Macedonia in 2013, we managed to finish Slovakia, all IP, without any accident, by the way. And in Croatia, we are currently at 78%, and all the other countries are roadmap-wise on track. We have, as of today, migrated more than 9 million customers, and you will see, and you see what the order of magnitude of customers is when we finished. We keep the commitment to finish in Germany and in the rest of Europe by 2018. So Bruno, maybe a few comments about Germany.
Well, in Germany, we are well on track. I think it was mentioned already this morning from Tim as well. 1/4 of the way we have already migrated. We have a huge ISDN baseline, and with this one we see at the moment with the products we are good on track, and you see here 25% and 5.8 million customers already in January, another 300,000 migrated to our new network, to our IP, and especially the rollout we are doing now with vectoring helps us to migrate them very smooth into the new IP world. This is well on track, and we will make it end of year 2018.
Fantastico. Then we go to ParNet, and that is the new thing here. So it's important to understand where we are coming from. And by the way, not only us, literally everyone else who has fixed line business and more than one country. As I said, in the today's world, we have a very complex production, and the intelligence for steering the network highly decentralized and distributed, and there are vendor-specific hardware-software combinations making it very inflexible and expensive. In the future world, and that is driven by the IP transformation, things will be simplified, virtualized, IP-based production, and the logic will move into the cloud. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect, we have that situation not only in one country, but in the 13 countries, each in a very different way. In the future, we will create one pan-European network with an integrated production across all the national companies, Germany and Europe outside Germany. Sometimes I say you can compare it with the euro, but without the debate who gets then an exit, right? So that's the idea about that one. And the last point is about the way products get produced. By the way, the production of a product, as you know, means specification and translating into IT then. Today, every national company specifies, codes, implements into the systems and the networks the products by their own. in a different logic. In the future, we have a so-called product or pre-product catalog with pre-products, and then the commercial leaders in the countries take these elements and configure a country-specific product and service out of that. So that is what indicated here, like a Lego principle. Yeah? For instance, when you want to offer a Magenta 1, which includes normal entertain, HD voice, plus 2 mobile phones, and this, you will have the descriptions of that and can compose that and have a common production logic. So that is, in a nutshell, what the ParNet idea is about. Now some tech stuff. You might say, okay, Claudia, Bruno, what is different? We have heard all of that. Software-defined networks, virtualization, cloudification, network function virtualization, etc. So let us explain what is different in the way we are doing it. First of all, and that is probably the most important aspect of that, we do these things all together, holistically, not just one aspect. You will find a lot of telcos that do 1 or 2 aspects of that. But here, we do it all together, holistically. And then going into the details, on the IP network, we are not only migrating PSTN to an IP platform, but we use the same FMC-enabling platform for all services today, and we are in the process of making it radically lean. And where the target picture will be, you can see in the TerraStream pilots in Croatia and Germany, where we have native IPv6 networks and deep optical IP integration. Now, why is that cool? Because that enables scaling it up and combining it with high bandwidth. And you need that in order to get a network which has de facto no latency. I mean, I know there is nothing like no latency, but no perceived latency. So that's about the TerraStream. Maybe, Bruno, you comment a little bit on your pet topic, the infrastructure cloud.
Well, a tight integration of fully automated data center and the IP network together. This is we call infrastructure cloud. That's a holistic approach to optimize network input and network output in one cloud approach. What does it mean for us? It helps us more or less to get all network function we have to deal with the network to bring that into that cloud. And the infrastructure cloud is doing that for us. We can say it in this way, like an app. All boxes we have in the network, we bring into that infrastructure cloud. And that's the reason that we minimize the latency, as it is mentioned here, and then that we get the high bandwidth on top of that. And this is something what we have shown in Croatia that it works, and we are on our way to exactly implement that. And there we are leading.
Yes, and in addition, we have also the real-time operating system that is an avenue the industry is taking anyhow, but of course this is also part of this concept, and it's very important that, again, it has standardized open interfaces and software flexibility, so in a way, it's crafted in a way that it doesn't make us dependent on certain vendors. That's all important in the entire system. So, but the most important thing to keep in mind here is what is different. We put these components together. And by the way, it's not PowerPoint. We have actually piloted and implemented all aspects of that in Germany and the rest of Europe. So as you can imagine, when you hear the name ParNet, this will mean that certain activities that were historically done in national companies will be harmonized and centralized. Today, everything is decentral. Decentral meaning done in a country only, completely. In the future, of course, the customer processes, the access network, the customer equipment, the business support system will be local. It's clear. Will be local. But what will be harmonized and centralized is the virtualized network function and services. So what you see here in magenta, computing, storage, networking, and the real-time network and service management system. So the system to actually manage the network. What is magenta here will be harmonized and centralized. The rest will remain local. And that is what enables the fast execution of new products into the countries. Now looking at the architecture. And please take that picture only as illustrative, because we have not yet finally decided on the locations. In that target picture, we would need, outside of Germany, 3 back-end data centers and 2 geo-redundant network operation centers. In addition, 2 data centers in every country, very likely, with routers at the edge of the network. So that's, in a very simplified manner, would be how that network would look like, compared to what we have today, and you will see it later how it looks today. So that is the pan-European network. Now, Bruno, we have decided actually to create a common architecture for the group, meaning for entire Europe. And Germany is, of course, part of Europe, and the rest of Europe, so the architecture is the same one. Comments on that one?
Absolutely. Well, I see that in your chart, the Germany is the black part of Europe, yes. But let's see how that works. No, the point is that we have one clear common architecture to simplify the IP network. And the architecture is called in BNG and TerraStream. Why do we have 2 names? Very easy. We have a clear architecture for the future, for the 2020s onwards. And we have different, say, legacy topics in the different networks, especially, for example, in Greece and in Germany, we start with a BNG. That is the reason because we have OSS with an old legacy. There we have to put more, say, technology or software in the routers. In the other countries, we start with TerraStream. So 2 trains are running, and they're coming to 1 railway station latest in 2020. And that brings us into the situation that we can exactly implement that, what you just have described, to have one ParNet in place. Absolutely.
And the fast-track execution of ParNet, and that is cross-country product introduction, will start, as said, here in the international part of the European business. And actually, it has started already. Next week at the Mobile World Congress, we will introduce 2 products that got delivered on a pan-European architecture and will be provided to 3 countries, Hungary, Croatia, and Slovakia, to all the 3 countries immediately. The first product is a TV product, but it's not the TV product as you know, so out of the set-top box. It is actually a TV offering out of the cloud, which enables delivery into 3 countries in parallel. In addition to that, because this is fast product introduction as a benefit, we have also massively improved the customer experience. And I must say, what I find specifically cool about it is the fact that we are combining the TV experience with a gaming experience. So gaming gets integrated into the TV and in the movie experience. And in addition, we are having a smart recommendation engine, leveraging big data, which will actually give recommendations for certain categories for movies, for TV, and for the gaming which is included. So that product we will show in Barcelona. But the interesting thing here is it was delivered for 3 countries immediately. The other product is a B2B product, a virtual private network. Now you might say, oh, a virtual private network is quite a boring thing. A virtual private network has been around for many years. Now, the difference to the existing virtual private networks and this virtual private network is that this gets delivered out of the ParNet cloud. That means precisely that as a business customer who has a medium complexity in locations, you can very easily, by just going through a mask, configure your virtual private network. Actually, it takes 15 minutes. I tried it out. 15 minutes, medium complexity. And then this gets also delivered immediately, with one exception. Of course, you still need the CPEs, the routers. So you would need to wait. We tested it for 2 days until you get the routers, and then you plug it into the wall. And that's a huge difference from today's world, where it takes, in Croatia, for instance, 2 weeks for medium complexity and 4 weeks for high complexity to set up a virtual private network. So what this shows is that it is a radically simplified customer experience with a reduced usage hurdle delivered over a pan-European architecture. And with that, Bruno, I hand over to you to talk more about the connectivity, the access.
So thank you very much, Claudia. See that it works. Integrated network strategy. That was presented to you at the Capital Market Day in 2012, when the board said, let's see, we would like to invest into Germany, starting with Germany, and we have 4 pillars. One is LTE. Be the LTE leader in Europe, in Germany first, and then in Europe. So we delivered that, as it was mentioned in the speeches from Tim and Thomas, that we are the undisputed technology leader here in Germany. We had the fastest rollout, have the highest speed and the highest bandwidth from the perspective of our customers. The second part was get fiber done, fiber closer to the customer. So we believe in fiber. Don't get us wrong with that. However, we start on an evolutionary pace. We start from the central office, going to the street cabinets, and then do some, say, chip tuning, we call it vectoring, to double the speed in the download and get a 4 times higher speed in the upload. At that time, we didn't know if we could make it because we had to ask the regulator if we could do vectoring. We got the permission. Last year, we started with the, say, vectoring cell. And if you look into this one, we deliver 5 million ports up to the mid of this year. So a great success on that one. And last but not least, if it comes to fixed mobile conversion, I always tease my colleagues in marketing a little bit. What they can do with converged products, we can do in technology as well. So we are combining the fixed line and the mobile line with bonding to get best of both worlds. And I really mean best of both worlds. We add DSL, VDSL, vectoring, and then hybrid. Not doing a load balancing where you get either or. So that was promised, and we delivered that. What do we do now in the next years, from 15 to 18? We will have an increase in the coverage, what was mentioned, above 95% in Germany, and the increase of speed to 300 megabits per second. The same we do in Europe, a little bit dependent on the market and the competition situation, between 75 and 95%. So the same amount in Europe with 300 megabits per second on speed. Fixed line, there's maybe one thing, if you really compare 2012 with 2015, you see that we say, okay, 80% of the households with at least 50 megabits per second. In 2012, we said we do VDSL and vectoring. That means speeds between 16 megabit and 100. So there's a slightly but very important difference. And Thomas mentioned already that we had a huge invest in so-called a campus mode, put people together to say, can we do it in the same envelope? And yes, we did. So we are on a way to save a lot of money, but really follow that promise as it was mentioned here already this morning. And on top of that, we will introduce super vectoring. What's that? It's just changing a line card in the MSAN. We are developing this one, and that brings us around 250 megabits per second starting in the cable footprint. In Europe, it's a little bit different because there we have a better situation regarding fiber rollout. For that reason, in some of the countries, we do a fiber rollout that ends up with 50% of the households above 100 megabit per second, and roughly 12% will get 500 megabit per second. So coming to the hybrid, of course, the development will be, if we get super vectoring in place, that we add then that into the router, that's 250 megabit plus 200 megabit in the mobile side, we get to 550 megabit per second in that cable footprint. Taking that into account, talking today from 15 to 18, of course, our engineers are working in the labs because we would like to be the thought and the implementation leader in this industry. And there will be, of course, some new developments. It will not stop. I think if you stand here 2018, there will be even more. So what we here show, we definitely will deliver, and maybe even more. Give you a few hints. In mobile, there will be evolution in LTE Advanced and 5G. I'm pleased that I am at the moment the head of the NGMN Alliance as a chairman, where all the operators are sitting together, and we will announce in Barcelona the 5G white paper, so that we have, like in LTE, a standard worldwide. I think that is a great achievement, and you are invited, if you have time, on Tuesday next week, 11 o'clock at the Deutsche Telekom booth. We are hosting that one. And if it comes to fixed line, vectoring already mentioned, it's live. We promised and we delivered. Super vectoring and G.fast we are working on, and it will come in the next years. So, just giving an outlook on mobile and fixed. Technology is easy. We have just 3 dimensions. So if you look from the customer perspective, you see speed, you see capacity, and you see efficiency. If you would look from the inside out, we say we need spectrum, we need sites, and efficiency. We promised to be the LTE leader in Germany in speed. We did it with 150 megabit per second after the Capital Market Day. We nowadays do carrier aggregation. That means combining 2 frequency blocks with 20 megahertz, already in some cities available at 300 megabit per second. If it comes to innovation, you see this antennas 4x4. It's called MIMO, or it's called multiple input, multiple output. That means 4 antennas on the rooftop, 4 antennas in the handset. Normally you have 2. And then you can double it, and we have shown it last year in the live network in Germany to have 580 megabit per second. And 5G, I mentioned, will come in Barcelona. We get more than 1 gigabit per second. Capacity compared to UMTS, to make it a bit faster, LTE is 5 to 6 times higher capacity. Then if you do carrier aggregation, it will double. And last but not least, if the customer would like to have more bandwidth and more speed, we have to introduce small cells. This is a little bit our toolbox. On the right side, you see how do we do that. You see single RAN, that means just easy, 1 box for all frequencies. In the future, it's just software, and we can decide which frequency for which technology we would like to use. Advanced antennas, cell collaboration help us to get rid of interference. I will not go into these details, but really optimize the network, because building sites everybody can do, but to optimize it with the right approach from the engineering perspective is not so easy. So for that reason, we have the right engineers on board to do that. And you see self-optimizing network. You have heard that maybe in the last years. Now it's catching up. We will do that from 2016 onwards as well. And last but not least, coming to the fiber evolution, one thing again, I repeat that, we believe in fiber. At the end, maybe not in my time in this Deutsche Telekom, but definitely our customers will get fiber. We do it in the evolutionary way, as we said, vectoring 100 megabit delivered. Super vectoring will come 2017 onwards with 250 megabit and more. And fiber to the distribution point, G.fast, it's when the loop length is less than 100 meters, will be above 500 megabit per second, and at the end is FTTH. So this is more or less the update on the access strategy, our integrated network strategy. With this toolbox, we will be able to address most of the use cases of our customers in a very efficient way. So customer. So Claudia, I hand it back to you now.
Yeah, Bruno, talking about the customer, as I said, what's the purpose? Improving customer experience, getting fast, and reducing the cost base. On the IP transformation, I already mentioned the broadband on-demand product in Macedonia. That is really a click, zack, plug-and-play experience to get a broadband connection. In addition, in that world in Macedonia, it's very easy to really create a fixed mobile convergence experience. Yeah? That's very easy. It takes just a few weeks to implement that. On the pan-European network, I was showing you that cloud virtual private network which gets introduced to B2B customers in these 3 countries. And of course, for us, the benefit is to do that very fast in more than 1 country. There is another benefit, Bruno, about that network, which is when we have that TerraStream infrastructure, that network is highly scalable and has a very, very low latency, so that enhances further customer experience. On the integrated network strategy, Bruno, you explained in detail, the experience is best seamless connectivity, combining the capacity from fixed and mobile, and the flagship product on that one is, as you know, the hybrid router which we introduced in Germany. So on top of that, but I will explain that tomorrow, and Nikjan will do as well, we have a number of service innovations to make the experience, the interface with that easier. This is what we call the ultimate service app, but more to come tomorrow. Now, that was the customer experience very shortly, and now I hand over to you very shortly to show the financial benefits of the thing. You
have seen that slide, so I will just say the delta, what Thomas already has said. If you look into this slide, the OPEX and CAPEX on the left side, in the upper corner, you see the number 0.8. So what we did, if in Germany, for example, look, we have the IP and INS in one business case. So this 0.8 mentioned what did we do to transform our network into an IP and integrated network. So this not included is the excess CAPEX, but all the other spend we have done over there is included. And you see this slight ramp up in the next years, peaking in 2016 and then going down. And in the early 2020s, we will get a lot of benefit out of this one. The CAPEX itself on the access side will increase as well up to 2018, but delivering as was what we have promised, and you have seen that on the access strategy, doing much more as we have done in the Capital Market Day in 2012, but staying in the self-funding mode to really be able then to deliver what we have promised here today as well. If you do a short breakdown, what does it mean? If you look in the 1.2 billion OPEX savings, in Germany it's mentioned 0.7 billion. 500 million is more or less related to service, 200 million is related to technology, and you can say roughly 1/3 is maintenance, 1/3 is people related, and 1/3 is energy related. So it gives a small breakdown. In Europe, it's a similar situation, except that depends on the country, people versus maintenance versus energy is a little bit different if it comes to ratio. But overall, if you look to the picture on the left side again, mainly the uptake in that OPEX CAPEX is coming from Germany, not from Europe. So the transformation we have to do, especially here in Germany, due to the old legacy, what is in our network, takes a lot of effort. But I think it's very important to do that effort and to be able to have then from 2018 on a flexible network where we can do plug and play. And I think tomorrow in Europe and in the German presentation, we will hear more about that one.
So, coming to the end and the commitments. And to underline the commitments, I just want to really make clear what from our perspective is the most important thing to keep in mind. So therefore, let me repeat it. Europe, leading European telco, is very much a leadership in a category, absolute leadership in a category. And that, for us, means undisputed technology leadership, creating the best customer experience, turning us into the #1 choice. The best customer experience is coming out of the technology leadership. And this is why we create such a superior production model. It is not PowerPoint. We have actually worked on that and executed the last 3 years relentlessly. And therefore, we believe Bruno, that we are able in Germany and in the other European countries to continue exactly that execution track record. And therefore, I would repeat a commitment we gave already, I gave in 2012, which is all countries, and Nikian will repeat that tomorrow as well for Germany, all countries will migrate to IP until 2018. On the pan-European network, you have seen we started in 2014. We could show that it works with these two products. By 2018, we will have set up the back-end and front-end data centers and a geo-redundant network operation. And we will migrate the services in the countries fully towards the pan-European network, the new services. And on the integrated network strategy, both Tim, Thomas, Bruno, and you mentioned that the commitment is to increase the POP coverage in LTE, as you can see here. And the second commitment is to increase the household penetration in Germany to 80% with a guaranteed bandwidth of 50%, and in your rest of Europe, should say 50% with a guaranteed bandwidth of 100%. So that altogether shapes the superior production model.
Absolutely. With one remark on the SNS trick, you see this number one regarding the 80%. We just asked the regulator for this so-called 550-meter radius around the central office. There we need another permission that we can do vectoring over there, because it's not allowed so far. But we're working on this one like last time to get this done, that we are able to make that.
Okay. Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have about 10 minutes time for a Q&A session, and I would start over here on the right-hand side with Polo Tang from UBS, please.
Yeah, thanks. It's Polo Tang from UBS. Just have a few different questions. So in terms of the move to all IP, can you give us a rough idea in terms of what the cost is per line to migrate, but also what the cost savings benefit is, and how does it vary, for example, between Germany and Europe? That would be the first question. And the second question would really just be in terms of, as you move to all IP and complete the transformation, you mentioned how quickly you can roll out new products. So how much of an impact do you think that will have in terms of your KPIs and net adds, in terms of, for example, fixed line? Do you expect to make significant market share gains? And my final question is really just in terms of the new mobile technology. So you talked about, for example, carrier aggregation, 4x4. How much cost will be involved in terms of deploying these new technologies? Will there be a step up in CapEx, or is it already included in your existing envelope? Thanks.
Yeah. So I start with the first question and giving you some practical answers from both Slovakia and Macedonia. In those countries, the cost savings per line were around about 10 euro, compared to an investment per line of 30 euro. And these savings compose themselves of three elements: energy, saved service level agreements to vendors, because it gets cheaper, and staff in technical service. But what we have seen, that the portion is very different from country to country, so therefore it's very difficult to actually deduct conclusions for other countries. Yeah? Because just to give you a thing, in Croatia it's really about energy savings, what we are seeing, versus in Slovakia it was very much about saved service level agreements to vendors.
Which is exactly why we moved away from that cost per access or savings per access down to the 1.2 billion, how it splits between Europe and Germany, and also the big layers in there, because also the preconditions are so different from all of the technology foundation and basis is so different that it doesn't really make sense and it's not comparable.
Yes. So adding to that, because Bruno and Thomas communicated the 500 million and the 700 million euro for the production model, and to break it down from there, and I take the 500 million for Europe, you can roughly estimate 250 million euro come from the simplification of the customer-facing processes, the digitalization. 200 million come out of the platforms, and 50 million is roundabout purely the migration of PSTN voice customers to all IP.
On carrier aggregation, maybe?
Yes, in mobile everything is included except carrier aggregation, as you mentioned, is partially included, but we, especially in Germany, will modernize the network from 16, 17 onwards. And there we do, of course, an RFI, RFQ, and we have some ideas how we can finance that because we think we get a much better price as we have today.
Yeah, well, obviously, what we, especially in Germany, count upon, other than what we're doing on the INS rollout, i.e. addressable market for higher bandwidths go up. But what we said before is the agility in the market, the self-servicing, really reducing the barriers of customers using our services obviously implies our hope. We didn't yet factor it in largely in our numbers, and you should ask that Nick-Jan tomorrow as well, but obviously implies that we think we'll be better in the market, that we'll be defending our market share better, that we'll be gaining market share over time, winning more customers because we'll be more agile in the market and we'll be having the better propositions. But it's not yet factored in, it'll be an add-on.
No.
Next question over here from Tim Boddy, Goldman Sachs, please.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask about, well, two things. First of all, from the experiences you've seen, obviously looking across different markets, but particularly also from the ParNet vision that you've laid out, how large are the cross-border synergies available from combining with an adjacent European country that you don't currently own? Is it, 5% of OPEX, 2%? If you could sort of vaguely quantify it, that would be incredibly interesting. And then secondly, it'd be good to, I appreciate there's always something else to invest in, but it feels like the structural level of CapEx intensity is actually declining once you've deployed fiber. So kind of assuming you had fiber to the home everywhere, big, and you could do the PSTN switch off, what's the sort of long-term CapEx to sales intensity for the business?
Tim, on the first question, may I ask you to park that until tomorrow? Because we have prepared that question with Thomas, our group CFO. So there's two options. Either he quickly jumps onto the stage, or we just repeat the question tomorrow in the bigger Q&A, which I would recommend, because he's the man who exactly knows the answer to that.
Yes, but the short answer is, when I was talking, for example, about the 500 million euro outside Germany in the European footprint, the speed to simplify the customer-facing processes, the 200 million euro I mentioned on the platform consolidation, you would not be able to execute that in such a pace if you wouldn't take such an approach. So if you wish, you can argue that this is, so to say, the benefit out of the production model. And ParNet there is very much the central piece of that. But the biggest synergy, if I may use the word, is really to introduce products across countries fast. And the interesting piece is if you have long-tail products. Today, when you have to think country by country, and then you execute 1 or 2 years, you have to think very precisely as a commercial leader, what's going to work, what's not going to work. Here, you can have a product which works for a specific niche. The teenagers, like the daughter of my friend, in Macedonia love it a lot. And this is just a customer niche in Macedonia. But what we do then is, we scale it up and we figure out. So this is pretty fast product innovation on a long tail. And I hope this came across. This is in an entirely different way this industry is operating, because finally it gets industrialized and a normal industry. I mean, other guys are working like this now for a certain time outside of this industry. That's the thing. Whatever product niche you wish to create, you do it, try out, super, roll out.
And then maybe on the structural level of CapEx, whether that is declining in terms of long term, because I think there's a couple of issues here. I think Bruno can work it out.
Of course, if you have fiber to the home to every household, the CapEx will decline significantly. It must be, because if you look at, 80% is access, the rest is core. So if 80% is done, then you know what happened. But it depends on the markets we are in. As I said, in Germany we have this approach, evolutionary, start with fiber to the street cabinet and then go further with G.fast in the pedestrian areas, closer to the home. And this will help us, of course, to say spend less capex at the beginning, because if you get everything done in Germany, it costs you 80 billion minimum. In Europe, different story, because it's easier to do, just a complete different way how to deal with that one. And there we will have much more fiber already now. And this will help us, of course, to decrease then the capex level over there.
Well, time for the next question, maybe here on the left, and on the far left-hand side. I think it's Jonathan Dan, if I see correctly. I'm getting old, sorry about that.
Hmm?
Hi there. You didn't mention Netherlands or Austria, and you've got a snazzy leather jacket, so I presume there's the beginnings of a challenger strategy.
Actually, tomorrow, when I give the European presentation, I will in detail talk about the Netherlands and Austria. So if you can wait until then, because we have a dedicated session for that.
Could I ask a separate follow-up on what networks, what you see your rivals in Eastern Europe, what type of networks? I mean, you mentioned 50% with 100 megabytes. My understanding is there's quite a lot of cable in Eastern Europe, that presumably.
So actually, the situation in Eastern and Southern Europe is very different. For example, in Greece, there is no cable. In Hungary, there is heavy cable. So it's very, very different. And in each country, it is also very different region from region. Yeah? So our reaction to this, when you think about these, what Bruno said, these 50% which will move to at minimum 100 megabits per second, it will be like this. More than 50% will really be fiber to the home in Europe because of a different topology. Then there will be 30% vectoring. In Greece, we pursue the same approach as in Germany. That will be a vectored line. And then in Hungary, there are still 10% in our footprint really cable. Which we are doing, yeah, and the rest is fiber to the building, yeah, and the type of technology we choose really depends very much on the local competitive situation in the respective country.
I think we got one more question from Fred Boulan, staying here on the left-hand side, please. Over here.
Thank you. Fred Boulan from Bank of America. Two questions. Firstly, on mobile networks in Germany, can you tell us if you think you can maintain a structural network advantage versus Vodafone and Telefonica, considering the plan you've just presented? And secondly, if you can give us some ideas on unit costs for super vectoring and G.fast. So you give us some interesting elements for VDSL, but if we can have some visibility on broad numbers for the next 2 or 3 stages of fixed investments. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, starting with the last question. Super vectoring is just a line card in an MSAN. And of course, as a customer, you must have a capable router at home. So due to that we are just with that in the labs. I can't tell you what is the amount of money because we would like to negotiate this one. We have it in the plans. The important thing for you is we have it embedded in the CapEx. It's included. So we have, I think, planned conservative, and we hope that with our procurement power, we will be able to even get it cheaper. So, but I wouldn't give you now an answer on what a line card will cost, but I think you are able to look at the VDSL line card, and then I think it's the same magnitude, something like that one. That is the first answer. The second answer, if it comes to mobile networks in Germany, the advantage we have is twofold at the moment. One is due to the frequency auction in 2010, when Thomas Dannenfeld, at that time CFO in Germany, Christian Ilek, at that time marketing director in Germany, and myself were bidding for the frequencies. We had this entrepreneurship to say we bet on 1800, and that worked out. And you see that advantage. We have 2 times 20 megahertz at 1800, and that gives at the moment a speed and a capacity advantage in this network. On the other hand, we have maintained, especially if it comes to speech quality and how we deal with the network, that done in a very well way so far. Of course, everybody is trying to catch up. Vodafone is doing that. If you look to the results, they are working hard on this one. They have the spring program on that. And our task is, like always in life, work against it. We better wake up in the morning, try to find out what is next, how can we improve the network on the one hand side, and of course with the next upcoming frequency auction to be as smart as we have been in 2010, knowing that's not easy. Yeah? But we are confident that we keep it.
I think we've got time for one last question here on the right-hand side in the middle. Emmett Kelly from Morgan Stanley. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Just one question. Could you just say a little bit about where your German fixed line network speeds are now compared with cable, where they were maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and where you think they will be in 3 or 4 years' time? So how that evolution has mapped out since, we'd say, 2011. And if we just look at those network speeds, could you just maybe mention, are German consumers demanding speeds of 100 megs? Do they actually come looking for those speeds? And do you think there is much of a differentiation once you reach 200 megs? Is there much value added in having 300 or 500 megs?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So say it in this way, when we announced 2012 that we would like to roll out VDSL and vectoring, we said we will not win the speed race in the fixed line network with cable. That is impossible, just as a first remark. Then we said we have to address in an efficient way minimum 90% of the use cases of our customers. And if you look to that one, I think 2 years ago, 6 megabit was the average in Germany. Now it's 16 megabit per second because, you know, the broadband from today is a small band from tomorrow. And with this idea to say, okay, we will vectoring in place for the next 10 years, I'm pretty sure that most of the households will have enough speed if it comes to that area. However, we have to catch up. That's the reason that we have said we will have super vectoring in place from 17 to 18, because cable is already offering now 150 megabit or 200 megabit in the future. They can grow up to 640 and even more when they invest a lot. So what we see is, okay, the ambition must be, we have better service, we have better quality, and we fulfill the use cases of our customers. And with this strategy, what we have just presented, we are pretty sure that we fulfill that needs. And the last 2 years have shown, even with our network, if you can get 100 megabits, sometimes the people only take 50 megabit. So they are very conservative in Germany. So we are pretty confident that we are able to fulfill all the needs of our customers.
And also with respect to the second question, I think there's plenty of time to discuss that tomorrow with Nicky and Van Dam as well. But the starting point is Germans are a bit more conservative. You know that by now already. But I think over time they'll be getting educated. It's not so much about bandwidth for 80–90% of our customers. It is about the combination of bandwidth, speeds, and products. People, if you look at our take-up rates of Magenta 1, which is our integrated FMC product, if you look at our fiber take-up rates, you see that people actually are willing to pay up for that if it's sold as a value-added proposition, which is not necessarily just on bandwidth. But again, Emmett, more in detail with Nicky and Van Dam tomorrow. And I think we'll be having to end the Q&A session. I know, guys, there's plenty of more questions. There's also more time to address these questions now with the demonstrators. Thank you very much, especially to the ones following us via the live web stream. This is going to end now, so the official program for today is ending. Thank you very much. We'll see each other tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central European time for